Anna Karenina, parts 5 all the way to 6. This is a summary. Now, let's start off today. First of all, we have Levin, and then we have Kitty. Now it's their wedding day, and it's time for them to go ahead and become betrothed forever and ever and ever. Problem is, Levin apparently has to do some religious things that he has not even started on before he can even be accepted, or let alone let to be married as Kitty's husband. What are those religious thingies, you might ask, that he has to do? Well, apparently it includes this communion thingy that he has to have a certificate that he's done about. He has to go ahead and make sure that he has a good, no doubt about God, and if he does have any doubts about God, make sure that his faith in God is way stronger than before, and as a result, going ahead and making sure everything is alright religiously in mind, aka become the perfect farmer Jesus ever. That shouldn't be hard. Except it is really hard. Sure, the communion thing is really good, but it's because his own mindset wants him to not do this communion thingy. But then, well, after realizing that his Kitty didn't really care about the communion, but realizes that her mother required it, he decided that, yeah, maybe, you know what, I'll just do it myself. And then he did it himself. Then he realized he needed to go ahead and answer a few questions about faith, and then he pretty much told the priest, hey, I doubt pretty much everything, but the number one thing I doubt most is that God exists. Allah, God, whatever you call it in your language or religion. The priest went ahead and didn't become mad about this, saying that, okay, why do you doubt the God anyway? Like, go ahead, think about it yourself. God is over there, God's here, he's there. There's a higher being watching over us. Pray to him, go ahead, he will answer you, and he will do something about you. This went ahead and sent him onto a religious journey, going ahead and trying to find out about everything and how not to doubt himself at all. But in the end, of course, he would not doubt himself, because there's one simple reason. He is there just to exist. He's there to go ahead and answer God's will and everything, and he eventually just regains his faith in God again, gets his faith back, and everything's back on track. He's allowed to marry Kitty, and then they go on their honeymoon. Huzzah! So what happens next? Well, their honeymoon went a little bit smoothly, but then when they went home, Levin realized that his brother was on the brink of death, so he needed to go home, but he didn't want his wife Kitty to go ahead and come with him, with the simple fact that there was someone there that he knew that she would probably like more than him, or something on those kinds of lines. Didn't really understood that part of the book myself, but apparently, he just didn't want Kitty to come for some reason, and then Kitty was all like, you regret this marriage, don't you? Then why are you still here? And he went ahead, they argued a lot about it, and they're like, yada yada, yeah, and, well, it ended up with Kitty sobbing and breaking down, and then Levin realizing, what the heck did I just do? Comforting his girl, and then they reconcile, and what they ended up doing was this compromise. Kitty would come with him to meet their brother, but she's there just not out of boredom, but she's there because it's her duty to be. Even though Levin thought she wanted to come because she would be bored here. Nope, apparently it's just she wanted to come because it was her duty as a wife. And so she came, and they tried to comfort the guy who was dying, and because he was dying and nobody seemed to give anything about him, in fact they didn't care about him at all, he decided, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna be the most annoying and most narcissistic person ever. He went ahead and blamed everyone for not giving him a doctor, not giving him a good one, not giving him anything at all, no attention, no nothing, no will or anything, and then they're just waiting for him to die. Well, Levin tried to comfort him, but he was starting to become tired. He was like, I don't want to be here. And Kitty herself tried to comfort the guy too, but then you could see that her patience was starting to run really, really low. So what did they do? And then they got the priest to come in and say the death prayer, you know, the prayers that they say when a person dies. And when the priest finished and went ahead and touched the feet of the guy, the feet of the man, well, it was cold, and he said, well, this guy's dead. And then suddenly, right next to that moment, and he wheezed. Oh god, I've destroyed the bed. He went ahead, he wheezed, he got up. It's like, no, not dead yet. And he came back to the condition that he was before. Pretty deaf, but still alive. Still very alive. A few more hours of that maybe it was a few days of that. A little while later, he died. Well, again, he died. For real this time. And after he died, they just buried his body, and then they went on with their lives. Levin himself just decided to go hunting with his pals and everything. Vronsky himself went hunting with these dudes. Whereas Kitty went ahead and talked with the ladies of the house, including the princess. And other people as well, too. The Advoyas, however you pronounce that name, it's a Russian name, and everything else. They talk to each other about how pregnancy works. They talk to each other about how things work. In fact, Kitty found out that she was pregnant now, meaning because, well, she was going to be a mother soon. Kitty asking the other women who had kids what pregnancy felt like, how they should deal with their kids, and more importantly, they just talked about their daily lives, how their husbands were a bunch of dickheads, and how they should be going out their lives, all the while making jam. Now, while they were doing all their own businesses and going ahead and teaching each other their own businesses, they realized something about each other. That there was something about them that was not seemingly correct. Sure, they are going ahead and creating things. They're going ahead and living their own lives. In fact, they are having greater lives forever. It's just that this camaraderie wouldn't be lasting for long. Eventually, Levin had to go ahead and go away to vote in a local election. Hannah finally asks for her divorce, and then the husband, who used to say, yeah, I'll give you a divorce, is like, no, I don't want a divorce anymore, or something on the lines like, if I divorce, if. It's a big if, I too. It's also a big if. So, Anna's in a big pickle because she wants to marry Vronsky, but Vronsky is all like, yeah, you need to divorce your husband first, and Anna's like, I want to divorce him, but he's like, no divorce, no divorce, no divorce. Something on the lines of that, even though he was the one who even suggested divorce. Now everyone's going up for it, and then all the women went ahead and abandoned Anna for her actions. This young, innocent girl went ahead and did such a terrible crime that someone as young as her should not have even been able to think of. But I suppose that's what happens when marriages have been made not out of love, but for relationships. For the money and everything, for power, those kinds of things. You will love your kid, that's inevitable. But if you stop loving your kid, then you are soulless, or somewhat soulless. And that's pretty much all I can give you. There's nothing else I can really say about this, though. Anna Karenina, the book itself, is an incredible book about comradeship, and Anna herself is being abandoned about all that. So Dolly went ahead and moved in with Vronsky and Anna for the summer because she hated her house, and during that time, they were going ahead and listening to each other, going ahead and talking to each other, and ending up being each other's pals for life. Later, Levin had to go ahead and abandon Kitty just to go to vote in a local election. Levin himself started to go ahead and lose his faith in these elections. Why else would he have quit the council? And that's pretty much about it. That's the entire story of Anna Karenina, parts 5 to part 6, all the important major bits. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys will share this channel and subscribe to it. Until next time, Shihana, peace, bye bye. Thank you for 500 plus subscribers.